Okay. Oh, let me turn that down. Okay. So, I've been seeing recently this banner that's popped up for everyone on Discord, like talking about how Discord's fighting white supremacy, racism, and that stuff. So I pulled up their blog post, kind of went over it um, a little bit to kind of get the gist of it, and I find it interesting. I have like some thoughts from it otherwise, from like past things Discord has dealt with. But let us begin. All of us at Discord were horrified by George Floyd's murder. We are horrified by the murder of Breonna Taylor, of Rayshard Brooks, of Ahmaud Arbery, of countless other black people across America, and disgusted by continued police brutality against the protesters. Okay, what about David Dorn? Just saying, like, it's not just one-sided. Racism is not only something you can consciously do. Okay, so it's an individual thing. Okay, it is not just vicious comments and violent acts. It's insidious racism. It's insidious. Racism is baked into our institutions and our way of life. From education to property, ownership to voting. And it's a reality faced by black people and people of color all around the world. Okay, so it's baked into education. We've got affirmative action, which basically makes it easier on black people to get in. They can have lower scores to enter college than white people, and then Asians have to have even higher scores than white people in order to get in because Asians do so well. Okay? And let's see, let's go back to racism is not only something you do is not only something you consciously do. Yeah? So it's an individual thing, not a system thing. When you name me a law that is like blatantly racist, because I know there are laws that like say you can't discriminate based on race, religion, creed, gender identity, and sexuality, and things like that. But when you've got someone that may be racist enforcing those laws or with a certain bias, then yeah, okay, let's actually bias. Okay. When you've got a bias that you're working against and you're trying to enforce laws, then yeah, it can turn into a problem, but that's based on the individual enforcing the laws. Okay, back we go. We don't create change where we can. We are complicit in perpetuating white supremacy and the oppression of black people. As Discord, one of the most popular communication services in the world, it is our duty to use our large sphere of influence to help in unique ways. Okay. This is really starting to sound publishery. We have a responsibility to ensure that Discord is not used for hate, violence, or harm. Like organizing these riots that have happened, and the destruction of cities, and government low-income housing that is primarily used for black people. Like, that kind of violence. Okay. Our goal is that Discord is used to build meaningful relationships and strong affirming communities. Today, on the day that commemorates the effective end of slavery in the United States, not in the rest of the world where it's still like a thing, like in the Middle East, we want to share the concrete actions that we are taking to achieve this goal. Okay. Yeah, I have a Discord server. But still. Okay. We created a company task force focused on identifying and implementing actions we'll take from a product policy and people perspective to make Discord more diverse, more trusted, and more inclusive for our users everywhere. The task force is led by our CEO and will back it with the right resources to implement its recommendations quickly and comprehensively. Okay, so you're allowed to start your own little group, a server or a guild, however, whichever end of the API you're working from, and you're allowed to invite whichever people you want into it. Okay. I think by excluding certain people from that ability, you kind of are becoming less inclusive as a company. Whereas you could let that community, if they're not doing any harm, not planning any terrorist acts, to operate, then I think that sounds a little bit more inclusive. If they're doing illegal things, that's a whole other ballgame. Okay? That'll be touched on in down in the later points. They'll focus on the three main areas for action. How can we combat hate on Discord? How we can use our reach and scale to promote justice? How about the officers that are killed innocently? Like David Dorn, how can we act as an employer to train, hire, and retain underrepresented people? How about Asians? How about hire based on ability? This task force has already identified and started to implement across these three areas. Combating hate on Discord. Like every mainstream communication service, we have to contend with people using Discord to promote hate and to abuse others. To be clear, hate has no place on Discord. As we've grown as a company, we've taken decisive action to make Discord hostile to white supremacists, racists, and other groups who seek to use Discord for evil. I don't see child groomers in there. Okay. And let's not forget the super sensitive furries that are staff. We have invested in people. Trust and Safety is one of the largest teams at Discord. Yeah, was at one point led by a furry who was super sensitive and banned anyone that joked about furries. And in technology, to proactively identify and ban bad actors from the platform. Okay? So, the purge is coming. In 2019, more than half of the servers we removed for violent extremist content, many of which were white supremacist servers. Antifa can still operate and cause harm by making concrete milkshakes, though. Okay, we're removed proactively by our team. Before they were reported to us, we'll keep increasing that number. In recent weeks, we've been monitoring our platform very closely to find and remove anyone seeking to use Discord to organize around violent extremism or disrupt protests. Does that violent extremism include supporting the riots and the violence on it, like Twitter allows people cheering on the people rioting until those people have those rioters at their front door? Today we commit to 2 additional actions to make sure we are as effective as we can be against the spread of hate on Discord. How about keep it to your own corner, I guess? But no, that doesn't work. We have to get rid of the servers entirely. We will undertake a third-party audit by an organization active in researching the spread of hate and racism to observe how Discord works. Is this third party from China? How we enforce our policies and to make recommendations to be more effective, or this might be the ADL. And we'll share what we learn so others in the industry can make use of their expertise. We are investing significant engineering resources internally to develop software to find and manage abuse proactively. We commit to an open source strategy, which means other companies can benefit and build on what we learn. We hope this also inspires companies to release their tools so users can benefit across platforms. Okay. So instead, well, no, I think Twitter has some form of automation to it too. I'm not sure. But it doesn't prevent people like Antifa from organizing their stuff that causes serious damage, actually causes damage to the black community and other things. What else? Yeah, Twitter might benefit from it, but being as they tried a bot that would basically automatically flag certain posts, they found that it disproportionately flagged posts by black people because apparently black people use racist terminology and bots have no eyes of color. They just see what they're programmed to do and do it. Okay. Using our reach and scale to promote justice. As a platform used by hundreds of millions of people around the world, we have a responsibility to use our reach to help those who use their voices to advocate for change and support civic engagement and social justice. Okay. Social justice. I mean, there's justice, but, like, is it really, like, if you're promoting justice, why do you have to, like, put an adjective to it? And if we were truly being just, then we'd also look at some other things, that there weren't a lot of perfect people. And yes, we'd condemn the cops for, like, doing bad things that they shouldn't be doing, but we'd also condemn riots that happen at protests. Starting next week, we will begin to use our in-product screens and our blog to raise awareness of anti-racist causes and encourage you to take concrete action, such as calling on local officials to advocate for police reform. Over time, we'll be reaching out to community organizers, civil society groups, advocates, and activists who are on Discord to offer them support and develop resources specifically for them, including dedicated customer support. You know, yes, okay. Acting to train, hire, and retain underrepresented people. We want the Discord team to reflect the diversity of society. Today, we're committing to diversifying our senior leadership team as soon as possible. Recruiting a full-time head of diversity and inclusion who reports to our chief people officer. What kind of a title is that? To ensure these efforts have dedicated attention and full responsibility. An internship program started in 2021 geared to underrepresented groups with a 5-year goal of training the next generation of Discord leaders. So I am going to guess that this is going to be based mostly on race and sexuality. They're not going to worry about religious minorities, except for possibly, like, if you happen certain religious minorities. I mean, no one cares about a Latter-day Saint who is a religious minority and much smaller than some of these groups, and is actually, if you look at many of the numbers out there done by studies by LGBT geared organizations, if you take that percentage, calculate the numbers in the US, then Latter-day Saints are a much smaller group than trans people, and they are underrepresented in many areas. We will also look at ways of supporting and donating to important charitable causes. 2 weeks ago, Discord donated a combined $150,000 to the Equal Justice Initiative and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the National Bail Fund Network, and the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor Family Funds. We're also giving our employees 2 days every day to do volunteer work for causes they support. Do they have to line up with a certain ideology, or is it any organization that they support? Or have you hired certain people that align with your bias in such a way that you don't worry about that? We are grateful that we have funds to donate to important causes, but no donations must be accompanied by actions. We would also like to take this moment to encourage everyone to take the time to learn more. Here are some resources to start you on that journey. We plan to share more in the near future. Talking About Race, an educational portal built by the National Museum of African American History and Culture, providing tools and guidance to help readers learn more and inspire important conversation. The museum is the only national museum devoted exclusively to the documentation of African American life, history, and culture. Okay. I mean, yes, there have been things that we've done, but I mean, name me a law currently that basically holds down black people. I'm sure you can find plenty of black people that will tell you that there isn't a law like that. Okay? Next, NPR's Code Switch, a weekly NPR podcast run by a multiracial, multi-generational team of journalists who cover both race and identity. Code Switch covers those messy, uncomfortable, essential conversations with the nuance and depth they deserve. How about religion? Because, like, that's a part of society that people identify with. Dr. Robin DiAngelo discusses white fragility. University of Washington professor Dr. Robin DiAngelo reads an excerpt from her book, White Fragility. Why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism. Dr. DiAngelo explains the phenomenon of white fragility and discusses how you can develop your capacity to engage more constructively across races. How about just go hug each other? I mean, all these rights and things have basically caused a greater divide. When you keep bringing race into things and keep attributing racism to people that don't have racism as their their motive, then you create a bigger racism problem. If you see everything through the lens of everything's racist, then who's really the racist? Okay. Anguish in Action, collection of resources curated by the Obama Foundation aimed at inspiring, empowering, and connecting people to change their world. This resource list is focused on helping readers learn what they can do to create a more just and equitable world. Okay. Anguish in Action. Our efforts to combat racism will require time, resources, and sustained attention. This is only the start of Discord's journey. We're committed to being in it for the long haul. We'll keep you updated on our progress every quarter, and we know that you, our users, will hold us accountable. So, what of the Native Americans who were nearly genocided? We gave them a stipend. And what did it do for them? You look at how much natives that live on that reparations stipend flounder and the damage that we've done to them after that. There are many Native Americans that have left the reservation and said that it was a bad thing that the US could have done to them. I mean, the casinos owned by Native Americans, do you think they get that stipend still? Or do you think they make all their money because they built something and actually did stuff? We can't correct past wrongs. I mean, if we're gonna argue that somebody should have certain things based on past injustice that was done to their ancestors, what about the Mormon pioneers that were expulsed from their homes? Should I get a reparation because of an extermination order over in the Midwest that was issued, and the many times that those pioneers were pushed out of their homes and forced out of their homes and pushed further west because people didn't agree with them? I mean, really, the only way we can combat, like, the racism that you complain about is by making laws that hold everyone equal. As far as I can tell, we've got those laws. What the issue is we have to be able to have the structure to pull out people that are racist. And if you look at everything through the prism of race and say you have privilege because of your skin color, then really where is the race rage towards? If you want to look at underprivileged communities or marginalized communities, I mean, everyone dogs on like a certain description of people. If you want to intersectionalize everything down to one thing, the most like dogged on group of people is the white, straight Christian men that everybody talks bad about. It's on some level, it's like white cis men decide how I can live my life, or white Christians are trying to hold me down. I mean, who can we criticize? Everyone can criticize the white man, but you talk about the black man and criticizing him for stuff, all of a sudden it's a no-go zone, unless he's a black police officer, in which case we can ignore them. This was a fun read anyway, but remember the bias, that cognitive bias that may be in this. Anyway, have a good one.